Show, don't tell. This craft maxim is often misunderstood and frustrating. You can't always show. Sometimes you need to tell. The real skill is knowing when to do each. Let's break it down. The idea behind show, don't tell is to dramatize the story. Make it play out like a scene on stage. Showing allows readers to connect with the focal character's moment-to-moment experience through sensory detail, actions, gestures, and dialogue rather than flat explanation. But here's the thing, you can't always show. Not everything needs to be dramatized. Sometimes you just need to summarize and move on. Use narrative summary to skip over the boring bits, to move the story ahead in time, or to change locales. There's an inherent contradiction in the show, don't tell advice. Consider the famous Chekhov quote, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on a piece of broken glass." You still have to tell the reader that the light is glinting off this glass. So ultimately, telling versus showing really comes down to an issue of artistry. It's about painting with immersive detail rather than explaining. It's about involving your reader in a participatory process. So description is one area where showing is definitely crucial, but make sure it stays rooted in POV. Don't overwhelm your reader with unnecessary details. Describe what the focal character would notice in that moment and splice it with action and movement. Avoid static blocks of text. Here's another guideline. Try to avoid stating emotions outright. So, for example, rather than saying she was nervous for her upcoming job interview, show her chewing her nails or tapping her foot or glancing at the clock. Readers enjoy figuring out emotions from context. It keeps us engaged and active in the story. Maybe a more helpful version of the show don't tell advice is resist the urge to explain. Treat your readers like detectives and drip feed them narrative context like backstory and world building a bit at a time in the midst of dynamic scenes. You want to let your readers crave context before you give it to them, and then let them come to their own conclusions without spelling everything out. Here's another way to conceptualize telling. There's reader info and POV info. POV info includes whatever is relevant to the focal character's moment-to-moment experience. Reader info, on the other hand, is context that the author thinks the reader ought to know. So, POV info good, reader info bad. Ultimately, your goal is to keep the reader in what John Gardner called the fictional dream, so that immersive state where we forget we're even reading and the outside world disappears. Too much telling breaks the trance, and explanatory telling doubly so. But too much showing can also slow things down. The key is balance, but more than that, make sure you let all showing and telling flow directly from the POV. If you found this craft advice helpful, definitely head on over to darlingaxe.com and check out the chopping blog. We've got a ton of resources on everything from show don't tell to POV to story structure and more. Thanks for watching.